I I don't even know what I'm going to say about this one. This is a Patreon commission review. The first few episodes of The End of the F***ing World. So, this was a show I think I'd heard the title of. I knew nothing about. But it was on my commission docket, so I'm trying to knock some of those out. And okay, why don't we start with what it's about? So this is about a couple of teenagers. It's set in England, and there is James and there is Alyssa. James is fairly confident that he is a psychopath. He's trigger warning for discussions of self and animal harm. Brief, skip ahead, maybe 10 seconds otherwise. He once stuck his hand into a deep fat fryer just so he would feel something and kills animals. Like, we don't see that happen explicitly, but like, it's a thing. And he's decided that he wants to upgrade to killing a person. And yes, he is one of our protagonists. He's not a villain. And his chosen victim is Alyssa. And Alyssa has a unhappy home life. She has a stepfather who she does not like, and it is kind of implying, at least at this early point, he might have some unhealthy attitudes towards her, like interest. Yeah. Ugh. And so she's just kind of an instigator. The way she puts it is like she just kind of breaks stuff. And there are times that she knows she should say sorry, but she just generally doesn't. And her home life is a disaster. And James starts dating her in this awkward teenage thing. In his mind, he's just trying to get close enough to her to kill her. And I'm not entirely sure what she's trying to get out of this situation other than just, anything. And she convinces him that they should run away together. And that's the premise. I only did the first couple of episodes. I'm not going to say it's bad. I am going to say that it is emphatically not for me. Or actually, let's be more specific. This is not for me in my 40s. I think if I was ever going to have a chance at enjoying this, I should have seen this when I was like 15, 16. I might have liked it then. Honestly, the thing I kept finding myself thinking about was like American Beauty strictly from the perspective of the teenagers involved. Not narratively, but like energy-wise, a bit. Because like there's moments of comedy. There's even one moment that I genuinely laughed out loud. But the overall feeling is just this sense of these very morose people trying to find purpose in their otherwise empty lives. And that's not an invalid story to tell. And it's certainly not an invalid story to tell about teenagers. Cripes, if there's any age at which it often feels like you're just floundering, trying to feel anything. Yeah, for a lot of folks, it's those teenage years. So I get it. But I lived it. And I don't find it entertaining. And I have a hard time relating to it at this point. I've said in the past that, like, I'm really, really, really over teenage angst. And granted, like, this is very heightened teenage angst. Like, he's so dead inside, he wants to kill somebody just to see what it feels like. But, like, ultimately, this still feels like it boils down to disaffected teenage angst. And, like, the adults around them are, at best, incompetent and failing to notice these teenagers desperately struggling through this, what they feel is a very empty life, or the adults around them are actively horrible, like with Alyssa's stepfather and also this guy who gives them a lift. I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. What a guy who picks up a couple of teenagers on the side of the road to give a lift to has on his mind. Hey, and I think that's the thing. I don't want to say that it's edgelordy. Well, Alyssa's a little bit of an edgelord, like as a character, like as a personality. She's not an edgelordy character for the purpose of like triggering the audience, but like Alyssa, the character's personality is a little bit edgelordy. But the show itself is not trying to be that. But at the same time, I feel like you have to not be completely over things appealing to an edgelord mentality to get much out of this. And again, I think there is stuff here, probably. I could honestly imagine myself probably connecting with this 25 years ago, maybe. But now, I can't. I can't. Like, there are parts of my own youth that I can still connect to. You know, that sense of wonder, of joy, the things that brought me a lot of happiness. I can still, like, make a connection to that aspect of myself growing up. But, like, the angst, I don't know. I mean, like, again, in theory, I should be able to relate to this. I was an angsty teen. I mean, weren't most of us to some degree. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I got over it. And this is not me saying like, oh, these kids should just get over their angst. Like, no, they need to work through their angst. I appreciate that. I don't really want to be in the room when they do, though. I was through that already. I went through my own journey. You, like, go sort yourself out. Cool. Do it where I don't have to watch it. And, like, that's not me necessarily saying that's how I feel about teenagers in real life. Am I saying that? Like, I don't know. My kid is going to be a teenager quite soon. That's kind of what I had in mind. I don't know. Cut that. I think there's value in this kind of story, in this kind of journey. It's just that I like, in a way, I kind of feel about it for the same reason that I don't connect with dramas about toxic relationships. Like, I can take in things with toxic relationships as a feature of a story that has other things going on. Like, toxic relationships are a key part of things like, say, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, and I freaking love that. But there's also got a whole lot of other stuff going on. You know, it's got magic and laser guns and a talking horse with wings. You know, there's other stuff there as well for me to take in, and then the toxic relationship stuff is an undercurrent or a current thing. But this is part of why I don't connect too much with what I just call drama as a, realistic drama. And not that this is super realistic, but it's relatively grounded, especially given its title. And I don't really connect with this as a genre, whether it's about teenagers or not. Just overall, just because, yeah, I deal enough of my own stuff, or in some cases, like, I have been through that, and I don't find it entertaining to watch other people go through that. You know, I don't want to see a drama about a toxic relationship. I went through relationships that were not good for me, and I was not good for the other person, and I don't really need to reconnect with that. And I kind of feel the same about, like, the teen angst, in that sense of, to hell with everything, we should run away, or I just want to do something extreme so I can feel, or, like, I get it, it's all valid, but, like, I lived it already. I'm good. I had my fill. So I feel like I want to say more, just because this feels very short for me for a review, but, like, ultimately that's kind of all I've got. I think it's doing what it's trying to do fairly well. The performances from the kids are certainly very believable. But ultimately what it's doing is just super not for me. Like, I am nowhere near the intended audience for this. Either in terms of, like, age and general sensibilities, but also just in terms of, like, what I want to watch. This is just so not for me. But honestly, I'd be curious to hear from anyone who did like this and was able to connect with it, because I was just kind of, I checked the time a lot watching this, if I'm being honest. But anyway, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as a living. That's also, I was commissioned to watch this. But any amount you can help me there is of great assistance. But don't worry too much about it. Like, share, subscribe. They all help me out as well. But don't sweat it. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Mutfula, Goddess Elida, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Tarak, The Thing That Goes Joink in the Anime, Gene Foray, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Trixie Scrabbit, Angry Kasparov, Dave Hall, White Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Pal Barabajagal, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Oh look, you actually get a face this time and not just butts.